Hey there, I'm Arun Sivashankaran,
And I'm David Jansen.
and you're listening to the Revenue Funnel Optimization Podcast by FunnelEnvy.
This show's for B2B marketers, demand gen teams, and go-to-market folks who are over the hype and want the real stuff.
We're talking about what actually drives results across the funnel. Experiments, website optimization, buyer journeys that convert, not just vanity metrics.
It's tactical, it's honest, and yeah, sometimes it's messy.
That's how real revenue gets made, so let's get into it.
I mean, most people, when they're quote unquote, they're using quote unquote AI, it's like very simple form of ChatGPT, or they're using it simply, I should say. And then Gen Z and then Gen Alpha, that's going to be the generation that I think really in probably 15 years-ish, they're growing up with this stuff being native, if you will. Let's use that software term.
I know you're working now with companies on like automating some of these workflows with Claude Code. Like, what are the sort of projects that someone should come to you for, Preston?
I think one is if you're stuck, like say at a revenue plateau, and you like kind of can't get out of your own way, and you know there's some operational debt you have. That's a lot of what I've spent time on in past and variety of size companies. Go, okay, what are quick wins we can get here? And it may be even kind of the simple stuff, like you've grown to a point with like kind of mediocre, web presence too, whether it's just like incom or e-com or inbound lead gen. And there's spider webs out from that. But one of the things that I'll tell you I've built for myself that has been great in going to just even approach clients and we build out a roadmap is a pretty expansive marketing audit. This is actually my own internal dashboard where I can put in the web address, and if I have access to like some, paid accounts, that gives deeper access, but be able to pull all that in and make sense of it.
I think the audits are big too. I mean, in fact, I had a call this morning which really like drove it home. On our site on FunnelEnvy, we have an AI website audit. It's something we're improving, but it's actually relatively decent. And it's free. You can pop in a URL and it'll give you sort of positioning and copy ideas and, CTA and all of the stuff we've been doing for over a decade now, right? It's kind of baked into that. And so we had someone, fill it in, liked kind of what they saw, scheduled a call with me and kind of wanted to know what they could do. Now, historically, audits are a relatively expensive proposition for us because we would have, gone into analytics, we'd have like understood the ICP, the value proposition, gone through the site, whatever other data and like really fleshed it out. They got a sense of that value. It's not complete, but they got a sense of that value in a human readable way. And that's the important part, in a human understandable way, instantaneously, effectively. I mean, it's not like the data hasn't been there, right? It's in Google Analytics, it's on your site, but like that translation layer from whatever nerd speak, whether that's a, code or whether that's a Google Analytics report to human is the thing that's been missing, the thing that's unlocked that value, it's unlocked the value. But now you take it sort of to the next level, which is the back end, right? How do you act on that? So you've got these insights and recommendations. It's backed by data. The agent's giving you all of that. Now, how do you act on it? Historically, that's also been very expensive because it's been to run an A/B testing program. You know this. You have to have a developer. You have to have designers. You have to have analysts, strategists, like all these humans in the loop. But FunnelEnvy, we're automating that too, right? Like, why not, build out the test, go from requirements and a hypothesis all the way to functioning and deployed tests with results. And obviously, we're not the only ones doing it. Everyone's thinking about that. But you've now opened that capability up to a market segment that previously couldn't afford it.
Yeah, well, I think that brings up a good point too, because during the whole ZERP era, nearly everyone was a beneficiary of that in one way or another. And then so like 22 hit, and AI, more mass adoption of AI tools, right? We just had to go, okay, how are we going to adapt in this world? And, I think that kind of goes back to like if you're in a big legacy company, hopefully not feeling handcuffed to just the way that company thinks about all this stuff, but that you're forming your own opinion about it and being exploratory, because that's where you find amazing use cases. Like even one thing we were talking about this the other day, but like social media, it's like kind of the bane of a lot of entrepreneurs' existence. Because we don't have the time for it, and you're like, but we had, you have content sitting there, so like stuff like this is great. That's a real like problem I think a lot of us deal with. But you also have the content that maybe you have shared your musings over time, or you have a blog somewhere, and it's just kind of like sitting there. People are finding it, but transforming it into these different formats. Claude Code has been great for that, mixed in with some other, services that are adapting it.
And it's also interesting to think about where all of this is headed and speculate a little bit. I'm sure you've been like hearing about the SaaS apocalypse, right? Now that everyone can build everything, like, is SaaS done forever? To be fair, I mean, I think there is a category of SaaS products out there that some of which we use, which I'm like, I don't really need this anymore, especially the ones where it's like UI on top of a database or an API. It's like I'd rather deal with an agent. And I'm thinking of, well, all of the A/B testing platforms out there, right? It's effectively a bunch of UI to do JavaScript injection and data collection, right? And that's it. But even like Webflow, I was, our site's on Webflow these days, but I was reading about, I can't remember who, someone said, pointed Claude Code at their site and say, convert all of this to static HTML, right? Because now the agent can manage it. And so what are your thoughts? Like, where's all this going? Who's in trouble? Who's not? Who needs to be evolving?
Yeah, I mean, I think to some degree we're still at this like infancy of like the fascination around it all. So it's hard to say that. Actually, I was on another podcast and this guy was like, what movie do you think is most like what the future is actually? And the one that came to mind was mixed between like Ex Machina and iRobot.
Okay.
Where
better than saying like Terminator. Because,
again, who of us knows, but the robotics thing, and I'm not like I don't own like a Tesla or electric car. I'm actually leery of like all the electronics that are in cars now. But I think the robotics thing will get pushed faster than we think, because at the end of the day, all this AI stuff that you and I are entrenched in, probably a lot of people listening, we're still in like the huge minority. I mean, most people, when they're using quote unquote AI, it's like very simple form of Chat GPT, or they're using it simply, I should say. And then Gen Z and then Gen Alpha, that's going to be the generation that I think really in probably 15 years-ish, they're growing up with this stuff being native, if you will. Let's use that software term.
It's funny that you mentioned cars, because I also have this belief that, because we have Waymo, and you guys, I think you have it too, right? You ride in one, and I had this, first time I rode in one, I was like, maybe not my kids, but their kids, right? So 2 generations removed. They're going to look back at this era of everyone driving like 2-ton vehicles around, us accepting like tens of thousands of deaths a year on the highways, and like barbaric, right? In the same way, like, we look at the horse and buggy era, and think of like, what was that, right?
This has been my thing, is like, in the meantime of whatever the future holds, like you said, let's try to do like good things with it.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at, is like, okay, well, how can I teach my kids to do it responsibly? How can I help businesses use it practically and not get bogged down with the highly speculative out there ideas of it that may be just self-indulgent? So
yeah, that's perfect. Well, Preston, I think that's a great place to sort of wrap it. Really appreciate you being on today. If you're listening, Preston, like you said, has been there growing companies from small to very big. If you need help with that, and sort of making sense of AI and LLMs and agents and growth and marketing in your org, you should reach out to him. Thanks again, Preston, for all your time. Great to chat and catch up.
cool. Thanks, Arun.
All right, take care. All right, that's a wrap for this episode of the Revenue Funnel Optimization Podcast.
If you like what you heard, hit subscribe. We've got more tactical stuff always coming out.
You can drop us a comment or share this with someone who'd find it helpful.
And if you're ready to dive deep into your funnel, check the link in the show notes to book a free call with the team.
Thanks for hanging out with us. Catch you next time.